Good evening and welcome to the July 18th meeting of the Norfolk Select Board. My name is Kevin Calcutt. I am the chair of the board. To my right, you have Jim Lehan. To my left, Anita Mecklenburg. And to her left, our town administrator, Justin Casanova Davis. Our first order of business is actually to go into executive session tonight. So I do believe that we have a motion to read.
We do.
Either to that or to want. Is it right here?
I was just reading that, yep.
Executive session for discussion with town council pursuant to general law, chapter 330A, subsection 21A, 7, general law, chapter 214, subsection 1B, and Norfolk Construction versus DCAM, 499 Mass, 444 from 2007 regarding strategy with respect to litigation in the following matters with the Zerd's Family Trust et al. Versus Norfolk ZBA, Bullock versus Zerd's Family Trust et al., Norfolk Superior Court, Bullock versus Bradford J. Raycroft et al., Norfolk Superior Court, Bullock versus Thomas Burkhart, Norfolk Superior Court.
Framed as a motion to move into executive session, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank
And
you.
we will be going into executive session. Thank you very much, and we are back in open session. At this point, would everybody please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. So before we get started tonight, we did briefly just want to highlight the fact that all of the members of the board tonight are wearing purple. That is not a coincidence. That is in honor of the memory of a young resident who we lost 10 days ago here in Norfolk, 21-year-old Connor Riley. You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody in this town who hasn't been touched by the Riley family, either through Mr. Riley's contributions as the art teacher at HOD or Karen Riley's contributions as a community leader here in Norfolk. Karen and Connor have actually joined a number of our select board meetings here, and I think I can speak for the board when I say that we've always been inspired by his dedication and his perseverance. You know, as parents, as neighbors, as friends, and as a community, we just wanted to make sure that we shared that our thoughts and our hearts are with Karen, Bill, and his brothers, Tim and Owen, during this extremely difficult time. Anita?
I think it is a tribute to Connor and a tribute to his family that he has been able to bless us for 21 years when he was anticipated to only live for 8 months. And I think it's a tribute to the community, the way the community has rallied and come forward and to support this family and to share story after story after story of how Connor has touched their lives. And so I just wanted to say I'm so sorry for your loss, and Connor made the world a better place, and we will miss him.
Jim?
There's so much that can be said about Connor, but I would like to just share one moment. As a member of the King Philip School Committee, not this last graduation, but the year before, was Connor's graduation year. And his dad had him on a computer, on a table, and he marched in with the graduating class that day. And his dad brought him up to receive his diploma with the computer, and I will tell you, there wasn't a dry eye. I'm going to cry now. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. It was standing room only. I mean, the emotion around that display of courage, it's one of the most moving moments I've ever seen. It's an incredible family. He was an incredible young man, and he will be missed.
Absolutely. Thank you. Justin, would you be so kind as to please take us through a highlight of our agenda this evening?
Yes, tonight we will have a poll hearing on Seekonk Street. We have setting the date and opening the warrant for the November special town meeting to appoint Ms. Deborah Cousins to the Norfolk Cultural Council, vote to approve the use of Town Hill for some events, as well as a road event for the Safe Coalition, and then we'll have our finance director give a fiscal year 23 year-end review for the board. So, general updates.
Thank you, sir. That makes our first item tonight to be the opening of the public hearing for our poll petition. Anita, would you be so kind?
Absolutely. I move that the board vote to open the public hearing for the Verizon Eversource poll petition on Seekonk Street.
Second. Hearing a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Shall I?
And now our notice.
The public hearing notice. The Select Board for the Town of Norfolk will conduct a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 166, Section 22 of Massachusetts General Laws on a petition from Verizon New England Incorporated and Eversource Energy and Star Electric for joint pole location to grant petitioners joint or identical locations for permission to erect and maintain poles, wires, and cables together with anchors, guys, and other such sustaining and protecting fixtures as they may find necessary. Said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the plan marked VZNE Incorporated, Plan Number 1A6B7MA, dated June 1, 2023, filed herewith upon, along, and across the following public way or ways of said town. Seekonk Street, place one jointly owned pole number T.17S/E.17S on the west side of Seekonk Street at a point approximately 900 feet northerly from the center line of Main Street. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. Petitioners agree to reserve space for one crossarm at a suitable point upon each of said poles for the telephone, fire, and police signal wires belonging to the town and use it for municipal purposes.
Thank you very much. Justin?
Yes. So this is a poll petition on Seekonk Street. This is part of the culvert replacement project. In the board's packet, you have emails from our DPW director as well as our fire chief and police chief. There are no issues in terms of placing this pole. We have a representative from Verizon if there's any questions for the board, but this is our typical poll request. And there's been no issues from any of those public safety officials that I mentioned.
Very good. Do we have anybody here tonight from?
I'm from Verizon.
Beautiful. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Good. James Murphy.
Nice to meet you, James. If you wouldn't mind just taking a seat up here, if you have something you'd like to share.
Sure.
So is there anything you'd like to add to what we have in front of us already?
No, as Justin stated, it's part of the culvert project. It's been marked out with a stake right across from the existing pole 17. There's really no issues that I can see that should have any problems there, other than it's kind of a blind corner, so I'm going to suggest they put a detail there when they do the work,
Absolutely.
just for safety.
Great call. Anita, any questions?
The only thing I saw that Blair asked that it be 6 feet back from the road, and I couldn't really tell from the drawing if I'm assuming it's 6 feet back from the road.
I couldn't tell from the drawing either, so before I came to the meeting, I drove over there and I measured it with my wheel, and it is 6 feet back.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you. That was my only question.
No questions.
No questions from my end either. Thank you very much. At this point, I will open it up for anybody in the public who has any questions or comments associated to the hearing at hand. Hearing and seeing none, so I believe we are clear to close the public hearing, for which I will take a motion.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And our public hearing is now closed. Justin, anything else to add before we make a motion to approve?
No.
Very good. In that case, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Second.
Do we have to be real specific in our motion to approve with the location and numbers and all that
I
stuff?
can add to approve to relocate the Verizon pole as described in the request.
Okay.
Very good.
Second.
Hearing a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. I really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, the next item on our agenda this evening is our public comment period. This is the point where we invite anybody in the public to come up and share with the board to items that are relevant to the board for just about 3 minutes or so. Is there anybody who is interested in taking advantage of public comment this evening? I will look back and forth between the two people in the audience until somebody tells me. Okay, looks like we do not. Our next item is to vote to set the date and open the warrant for the November special town meeting. Justin.
Seems like we just had town meeting.
Sure
A
does.
little bit ago. But as part of our November special town meeting, the select board needs to set the date for the for town meeting to be held, as well as open the warrant. So in your packet, you have a chain with myself and the moderator, Jay Tallerman, on a proposed date, which we have there for you, of November 14, 2023. And then I would ask that the board open the warrant as well and close it on September 7th.
Jim, any questions?
No?
Anita?
I looked up the date to make sure there weren't any holidays we were bumping into, and it is National Pickle Day, but that doesn't seem to interfere with town meeting.
Now that you said it, though.
I know. It's also National American Teddy Bear Day, go figure. And so, but I don't think that those will interfere with our work of the town, so. No other questions.
Thank you. In that case, I will entertain a motion to hold the November town meeting on that date.
I move that the board vote to hold the November town meeting on National Pickle Day, November 14th, 2023.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And now a motion to open the warrant.
I move to open the warrant and for the town meeting to be held on November 14th, 2023, and to close the warrant for this meeting on September 7th, 2023.
Second.
Hearing a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Our next item this evening is to vote to appoint Deborah Cousins to the Norfolk Cultural Council.
Just a few weeks ago, the board made appointments for general, committees and commissions. Norfolk Cultural Council was one group where we didn't have a quorum, and luckily the work that we've done to sort of, as from the community as well as posting on the website and various things, we did get someone who was interested. Miss Deborah Cousins is interested in the vacant position, and a request from Gary Sullivan was made, and that information is included in the select board's packet.
Very good. Anita, any questions?
No questions?
None.
Jim, no questions. I think that I speak for everyone. I say we are very appreciative of Deborah's dedication to join the Norfolk Cultural Council, especially given the vacancy that we had seen going through last meeting. So with that, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I move to appoint Deborah Cousins to the Norfolk Cultural Council.
I will second.
Hearing a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you so much again, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah.
Our next item this evening is to vote to approve the use of Town Hill for a couple of garden club events, Justin.
Yes. So we have two requests for two events. Both events have been reviewed by our public safety team. There are no concerns. Wednesday, September 13th from 6 to 8 for the Welcome Back Get Together and Bench dedication. There's a rain day of September 14th, 2023 with the same time period, as well as Thursday, June 6th of 2024 from 6 to 8 p.m. for the end of year get together from the Garden Club.
Wow, that is some forward planning right there.
I thought the same thing. I was very impressed. Very impressed.
Jim, any questions on the proposal?
No.
Anita?
None.
Hearing no questions.
I move to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve. Hearing a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Our next item this evening is to vote to approve a road event for the Safe Coalition.
This is a request from the Safe Coalition. Ms. Jen Knight Levine asked for permission to walk through town center. She's going to be going through all the participating towns, which would be Plainville, Franklin, Norfolk, and Millis, where they will have a moment of silence after walking through each town center. This is for the overdose awareness, which will be on August 31st between 10 and 7 p.m. In the board's packet, you have emails from our public safety team. There are no concerns. We heard from the fire chief this afternoon, and there's no concerns on his end either as well. And in the packet, I believe there's a walkway just illustrating where they will be walking.
Okay, through Rentham. I was like, Plainville, Norfolk, Millis, and Franklin. I feel like
Yeah,
there's a
Rentham,
town
yeah.
missing there to make that geographically possible.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Just a question, what is the date of the Pan Am, Mass Pan Am? Because I know it's August. Just happened to think of that, because they come through here.
Just take a look.
I don't think it's the end of August, I think it's in mid-August.
Fifth and sixth this year.
56.
When is it?
Fifth and sixth.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any questions, Anita?
No, I think that's fabulous.
Agreed.
With that, I'll take a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the walkthrough event from the Safe Coalition on August 30th.
Second.
31st.
Hearing a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Looking forward to another event with Safe Coalition. Next up are our discussion items for the evening. Our first discussion item is an FY23 fiscal review. Mr. Lindberg, welcome.
So in your packets, you should have two worksheets. Multi-colored one, revenues, and then revenues and expenses. I'll go over the revenues as I've done in the past before. We broke out the revenues at the start of the period with COVID in anticipation of identifying any issues with collections or what have you. Given those concerns, we've never had any issues, but we've kept this format on a going forward basis just to break out the revenues and where we are comparatively last year versus this year, year-to-date, things of that sort. So this is a snapshot as of 6:30. There are some ins and outs that are still going on. I have a couple of receivables that I'm waiting for, but for the most part, this is as of 6:30 for the revenues. So to date, tax receipts, we've received a total of $38,794,406. It's a little bit higher than what we budgeted, and that's due to the fact that we've received tax amounts from previous tax years and also collections on tax title accounts and foreclosures. So that's embedded in that number there. Local receipts, which would include motor vehicle excise, meals tax penalties and interest and things of that sort, they all came in pretty good, reasonable within their budgeted amounts. One that's really high, investment income, is towards the bottom. Investments did really well this year as compared to last year. We only had about $6,000 overall last year, whereas we have $74,258. And that's just based on the market conditions helping us out there. Ambulance receipts, $475, which we budgeted. Miscellaneous, which typically would have our prison mitigation monies in there, and as we're all aware, we got reduced amount for the prison mitigation monies, but also included that is the sale from Maple Street. So we had a foreclosure sale of $190,000. The net of that was, minus the expenses, was about $170 plus, added to the potential free cash once this gets certified. State aid kind of came in at the budget amounts initially. When we do the budget, we take the first go around at the state levels, and then obviously they settle typically a little bit higher overall for aid income coming to us. So the amounts that we received in total, $5,160,000, less the assessment of $667,000. So we got a little bit more on the revenue, a little bit less on the expense. Created that extra amount that's coming in for the state aid to help us out. And then the last item is the transfers. We anticipated $354,000, and that's the ARPA monies. Talking with the county, we readjusted one of the programs, which was a stormwater, which was anticipated to be closer to $300,000. But going back and forth with them throughout the year, the actual number is going to be about $177,000, which they are going to be forwarding to us. It's just not included in here because I don't have it as of yet, but that will be added in there. And those are monies that are spent on that program for this year. So while we budgeted $354,000, actual is going to be the $177,000, which we're actually going to be getting reimbursed. So there's no loss there.
Great.
In total, with the assessments, $47,879,000. Without the assessments, $48,546. That's revenues. Any questions on the revenues?
Not for mine.
Nope, not for me.
So moving to the next sheet where it breaks down revenues and expenditures. Again, this is revenues. The first sheet was breaking the revenues down a little bit more granular. This is grouping some of the items together just to kind of be put on one sheet. And again, you'll see the breakout: real estate taxes, personal property, motor vehicle excise, a couple of the items for the local receipts that we have. Investment income, again, 74 versus the 25,000 that's been budgeted. So it's all helpful news and positive. And again, the state aid coming in a little bit higher and less expenses also contributes and helps out at the bottom line. In total, we budgeted $46,935,000, so $724,000, and that included the debt exclusion of $2,570,000. And then to date, with the revenues, we're at $47,809,000, so 1.86 above what we anticipated, which will roll over into free cash. Our expenses, general government, which includes town administrator's office, finance, facilities department, clerk, elections, land use, those types of departments, came in under budget, 98.25%. So that'll be monies that are turned back in. Public safety, which would include police, fire, as well as the regional dispatch facility that we have, that came in a little bit under budget, 99.7. Education, actually, all of education was spent except for about $9,000 from, I believe it was the Norfolk Agricultural School. So we budgeted $60,000, but I think the actual expense to date was about $52,000. Public Works, they spent about 80% of their budget, coming in at $2,061,687. Human Services, 95.89%. Culture Recreation, 95%. Benefits, so that benefits includes health insurance, life insurance, Medicare, all the provisions, the benefits for the employees. We came in 97.69. Debt service, you'll see the number is 122.17, but if you look down, we have other financing sources. So at the November town meeting, we made a transfer to cover the band payment, which was going to be coming due in June, of $124.42, and that was within the non-exempt debt. So the $616.39 is what was actually spent based on a budget of $505, but again, add the $120 to the $505 is ultimately what's going to happen with that particular line item. And then the debt service for the exempt, $2,570,000, as I indicated before, and that was fully spent. So expenses were budgeted at $46,935,724. We came in at $46,251,000, about almost $700,000 there to help out a total overall excess of about 1.5. And then with those transfers brings it to close to about 1.7, roughly. Not finalized and not certified yet.
How much do we have in the stabilization fund?
Stabilization fund is $2 million.
In free cash?
1.2.
Okay, thanks.
I just had a question because, first of all, to compliment you on our AA+ rating, thank you very much. That doesn't happen by magic, so thank you very much. And then because we have this excess, I know and I've learned a lot about free cash, but I do believe we've also told the schools that if we were in a position to give those $60,000 back, that they cut at the end. Is this where that happens or not really?
That's not where this occurs at this fiscal year end. The state is still ongoing with their final budget number. I think in special town meeting, we would take a look at what the final adopted budget number is from the state and see if there's any increase in state aid or anything like that. And that would be something that we would look at there. Todd, you want to add something?
And I think the conversation early on when we were doing the budget was to say, okay, the state aid is coming a little bit less. If we get more from state aid, would we be able to
That's
use to
where it
help
would come
offset?
from.
Yes.
So while right now, at the iteration that they're at before the final approval of state level, there's about $35,000 extra of state income based on what they're allocating versus the expenses. But obviously, that's not finalized, but that's where they're at this stage from where we initially budgeted. So there's a potential positive $35,000 currently.
Thank you.
Yep. And we'll
Fingers crossed.
keep monitoring that.
We'll have that done by the end of, they'll have that done by the end of July.
Yes.
Todd, is there any negative implications of the lagging state budget process on our Chapter 90 funds and our ability to execute on some of the projects that are out there?
None that I'm aware of.
Thank you, sir. Jim, any questions?
No, nice job, Tom.
Thanks. With one respect on, it's not in that particular item, but I know there's some questions that kind of linger out there. So with the tax bills that recently went out, I know that discussion you guys had with Don, with the assessor's office, and the fact that the 2.5% that we normally have is going to be added, not added, but included, so it'll help to levelize some of the payments that are done throughout the year. So typically in the past, people would pay an amount that was based on their previous tax bill, previous tax rate, in anticipation of the tax rate being set in November. The idea here is to help levelize some of those payments of the 2.5% increase. Did not include the payment for any amounts that are going to the fire station. As we're all aware, with the AA plus rating, I was able to get an $18 million bond. We have, on that bond that we got, we had a premium of about $287,000, with the net premium being right around $250,000. So with that premium payment and then what we're anticipating to pay for interest come this May or June, early June. So what will go on the tax bills for January will include an amount of $600,000. That's the interest payment for the band that's going to be coming up. Principal and interest will be paid the following year. And again, that's at the $18 million level because that's the band I took out because I didn't want to fully fund it for obvious reasons. We don't need to sit on that all that money at this time, but just wanted to give you an update on that's where we're at with those and the tax bills.
Thank you. So for those who are looking for when the measurable impact to tax bills will occur due to the fire station, they should expect that in the January 2025
Correct.
tax bill.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions for Todd?
No, thank you very much.
Not so much a question, but maybe a suggestion. Tax bills, I mean, they're confusing to folks. And, they hear the story of the 2.5%. Then they get a tax bill that doesn't reflect 2.5%. They don't understand the rationale why. I'm not saying this from me. I've explained that to a lot of people, and it doesn't go well because it is confusing.
Sure.
I think it might be very interesting if you and the town assessor did a cable show and explained how these taxes work, because they're not simple.
Okay.
And especially between the first two bills and the second two bills, and how the 2.5 will be reflected, and talk about the fire station. I think that would be very informative, because I know they're confusing to people.
While we're at it, you could just bunch in all the stuff coming down the pike in the fall and just make it one big highlighting, all-encompassing.
Sorry, this year I can't hear out of it. Speak a little
Let's
louder.
stick with 1 year at a time.
Because there's a lot coming down.
Just to see, I think it'd be worth the time.
I think
really
it's a
do.
great idea. Plus, it'd act as a reference point moving forward. If somebody does have a question that requires a more comprehensive outline, we could point them to the recording.
Because they are confusing. People don't understand that the first is an estimate. They don't understand the second reflect. It's confusing to people.
Yeah, great idea.
Mr. Chair, could I just add one thing in terms to the president? I want to commend Todd and our entire finance team, as well as our department heads for this past fiscal year, because, obviously we understand that the fiscal year 24 budget was a very tough budget, and I think our department heads and the finance team, we knew we had to be very, disciplined with our spending in fiscal year 23, because for us in Norfolk, free cash funds capital for us, fund stabilization. That's the reason why we're able to be a AA plus community. And we made some tough decisions for the fiscal year 24 budget, so we try to be prudent in fiscal year 23 where we could. So I have to commend our department heads and our finance team for helping us have a good fiscal year and close. So I did want to mention that. And then realize that, in the fiscal year 24 budget, because we have had, residents say, what about our recreation, the mowing, and what about, some of the trash that we're seeing around town? And we love Norfolk, it's really important, but we did reduce some positions. So I don't want people to see the great work that we did in fiscal year 23 and expect, fiscal year 24, it's all roses. So it's important to commend the work that we've done, but also understand the fiscal challenges that we have coming forward.
September. I would hope this board would entertain putting some of our certified free cash in the November meeting into the stabilization fund.
That has been the
No,
standard.
it's been practiced, and I hope we will continue.
Yes.
Yep, I know it has been practiced. We need to build that up.
Absolutely. What is the recommended marker? 5% of your annual budget?
So the recommended is actually 15%.
Yes.
Who has 15% in stabilization in
Not
the
many
state?
people. There are people, but not many. But for us, we made a very vigilant attempt and are trying to strive for a 5% marker on our free cash compared to the budget so that we can keep that in pace. Obviously, for if something
20 years ago.
catastrophic happens, but the idea here is to help out with that number. Does it impact the overall rating? They like 15%. So 5% is not going to
But it
move
helps.
the marker.
It
But it's an
helps.
indication to show that we're making strides there.
Correct.
Payment towards, finally, OPEB. Starting to build that account. That helps out. So those are the things we need to continue to do, yeah.
20 years ago, we were a bus accident away from a huge problem. So, well done.
And what is 5%? What's the number? Oh, you don't have to look it up. It could be.
2.3 million?
Yep.
Yeah, 2.3, almost
Nice.
2.4.
Done. So we're not too far away.
Blind squirrel finds a nut, Todd.
It depends on if you want to include the debt or not include it.
Close enough.
Thank you.
very much,
Todd.
Todd.
Enjoy the summer.
All right, the next item on our agenda this evening is our general updates. Justin, please take it away.
Yes, I have one update for the board and the community. Our senior center is now open.
Beautiful.
Yay.
Beautiful.
There was a lot of work, a lot of updates and upgrades that we made during this transition, and obviously anytime you open a new building, there's still moving pains, but I want to thank Karen and her team at the COA as well as our facilities team for the hard work that they did to make sure that we could open the senior center, so I'm very happy to report that it is open now.
Excellent. That's fabulous.
Thank you, Justin. I do have a couple of updates as we've been jumping around a little bit. The first one was on the 10th. I attended the County Advisory Board meeting. And as a representative of Norfolk, we voted, we got an update on open litigation between the registrar and the county, and then we also voted to transfer funds. Very kind of light lift items, but our next meeting is going to be on the 13th of September, where I imagine we'll start getting into the transfers and the fun things that occurred in the fall. The next item was on the 17th, I attended the Metro West Regional Economic Development Planning Session. Man, they need to put an acronym to that. That was up at Framingham State University. This was something that the Executive Office of Economic Development was doing. It was a tour where they were having these types of input meetings across the state. This was the 8th and final one. They invited local municipal leaders, local legislators, community and business leaders, and they really wanted just to collect input on the business climate, community and neighborhood development, key cluster development and innovation, and equity and opportunity. So it was cool to be able to provide that kind of feedback, that input from Norfolk's perspective, and to also hear from the newly appointed Secretary of Economic Development about what her vision is for making Massachusetts a great place to thrive as a business owner. So that was pretty helpful as well, and we look forward to what those come out with as far as initiatives from the state office. And the last one was earlier today. I was able to attend my first meeting as Norfolk's representative on the MBTA Advisory Board. During this meeting, we voted on board and subcommittee appointments, and one of the things I noticed when looking at these subcommittees was that there was a subcommittee specifically focused on the commuter rail. And there was not a single representative from anybody on the Franklin line on that committee. So
Welcome to your new appointment.
So I raised my hand, and I said I would be more than happy to serve in that capacity.
Thank you,
And
Kevin.
they agreed, and I was appointed to the Commuter Rail Subcommittee moving forward. The rest of the meeting was fantastic. It was great to hear from the Undersecretary of Transportation, Monica Tibbetts-Nutt, and hear about the efforts that are being done to electrify the rail system, what they're doing to be able to improve regional responsiveness, and kind of the first blush as to what the legislative funding needs are going to be able to get MBTA back on track. No pun intended.
No pun intended. You mean stay on track?
Stay on track. There we go. That probably would have been a darn missed opportunity. I did also identify that from Norfolk's perspective, the priorities as it relates to the MBTA are really centered around the MBTA zoning guidelines that have been passed down and how we're going to be able to accommodate for that, local transportation funding as it pertains to Chapter 90 funds, and the overall state of MBTA finances, their debt and their funding, and how they're going to be moving forward. So I look forward to future meetings. Our next meeting is going to be in September for the subcommittee. But if there is anything related to MBTA and the commuter rail, please pass it along. I'll be more than happy to bring it up in that forum.
I would love to hear more. I mean, as you get more information, yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Yeah.
I'll open it up. Any other updates or items from the board?
Just one comment that next Tuesday, our new superintendent, Dr. Drolet, and I will be doing a cable show. I don't think it'll be, well, it will be live, I guess. We're doing it at 11 o'clock on Tuesday, basically just to introduce him to the community, get you to know him a little bit better, and talk about some of his priorities and goals for the upcoming school year.
Fantastic. Great way to introduce and get him out there, too. Anita, anything?
No, I was going to comment on the work that Blair and his team are doing on River Road. It's looking good, and excited to have those improvements.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Justin, anything else before we move off of updates?
No, sir.
Fantastic. Our next item this evening is to approve some warrants. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the warrants as printed in the agenda.
Second?
Second.
Hearing a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. And finally, do we have minutes to approve this evening?
We do. I move to approve the meeting minutes of March 21st, 2023.
Well, I can honestly say, as clerk, I did read these. And I will second that motion.
And we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion is approved. Justin, do we have anything else before we adjourn?
We have nothing else.
Our next meeting is scheduled for August,
15.
leaving it open-ended for somebody to help me, August 15th. So we'll see everybody then.
On August 15th.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Enjoy the rest of your summer, everybody. Thank you.